Hello, my name is Ruth Mariner. I'm an opera director, a workshop leader and a librettist. I've worked for major opera companies including the Royal Opera House, English National Opera and Opera North, working on both big productions on the main stage and doing more community-based work in the education departments. My passion in these areas is for creating new work. My mission, personal mission, is to find out how to create the opera of today and bring it to new audiences. I created Gestalt in 2012 as an opera company that formed unique collaborations with visual artists, including architects, art directors, and scenographers. We've created some highly successful work. Our performances were described in the media as works of art. We were described as more adventurous than the big opera houses dare to be. And we started to attract a few new crowds. We were also listed in 20-something London's article, 10 Reasons Why Opera is No Longer Stuffy and Elitist. And you can just see a few images from our work over the last 5 years. I reformed Gestalt's mission and values with the help of the Creative Entrepreneurship Scheme in 2016. When I was working as a freelancer across these platforms, so traditional opera, my own contemporary work, and also education work, I became frustrated with the lack of dialogue between them, which was causing, in my eyes, a lack of visibility, a lack of accessibility, and therefore a lack of productivity or failure to kind of maximize the benefits of the art form. I found that traditional opera often operates within a patriarchy with socially dated values and a mistrust of the quality of more community-based work. I also found that traditional opera didn't really know how to present itself as approachable without selling out or kind of dumbing itself down in a bit of an embarrassing manner. I found that contemporary opera also operates in a bubble again and with a limited knowledge of how to engage audiences who aren't already kind of hardcore contemporary music fans. And I found that education departments were met with severe funding and time restrictions and formulaic management processes which didn't really enable them to create their best work. So in 2016, at a time when divisions between communities across the country had been brought into sharp focus, I felt there must be a way that opera could do better and could work to create unity at the centre of society and not just exist on the outskirts. My solution is to create a company which uses opera's many media, including singing, music and visual art, to create experiences which unite people, upholding modern social values, creating work with people, not just for them, and maintaining the high level of artistry that Gestalt had already achieved through our unique collaborative work. So our company has 5 main aims, and each of these can be summarized with a value. I'm just going to quickly go through them. So the first value is people. To work closely with people and uncover incredible information from different geographic communities, interest communities, and different sectors of society. The second is curiosity, to promote opera not just as a tradition, but as a living tool for creatively thinking about the world. My next value is visibility, and I want to prove with my company that a playful, inventive, and socially driven form of contemporary opera has more power to reach audience than traditional engagement models. And equality, to respond to the lack of interesting roles for females within the industry by working on a 50-50 gender split for all my projects. The last value is art, and this is a really important one because I want to bridge the gap between these main stage projects and the education work by presenting socially driven work as art in its own right. And this is something we don't really kind of see that much in the opera world. Either things are presented as an educational charity or they're presented as something different and artistic. But there are models within the theatre world and the art world where things are socially engaged but just presented as art in their own right. And I think it's really high time that opera caught up with those industries that are clearly doing it so well. So to create this work, I knew that I would need different partners to the norm, because to gain access to wider audiences, the best starting point, I thought, was to slot opera into public programmes where people would already be open to new and exciting ideas, even if they didn't yet know about opera itself. So museum and heritage sites have resulted in really fruitful collaboration. You can see our first pilot project, Feet, which was an opera created around the Charms collection at the Horniman Museum for a late-night Halloween event. And here you can see the partnership was really mutually beneficial. It also drew new audiences. It also drew new audiences to opera, with 61% of people never having seen an opera before. So for our upcoming projects, our partners include music festivals, community and schools festivals, schools, universities, and niche interest groups or societies. We have a really incredible list of projects lined up for our next season, which I'm actually so excited about. And you will see that each of our projects fulfill our aims in a different way as part of an overall strategy. So running from July to September, we will be working on Liquid History, which is an opera project telling the story of London through 5 objects from the Museum of London Docklands, created with specifically targeted community groups at 4 festivals across London and the surrounding counties, as well as a very interesting niche community of people who find things on the Thames shore as a hobby, and they are mudlarks. We wish to tell a social history focusing on what the Thames estuary has meant to many different people across time and what it means to people today. And it will be written and directed by myself, with families and Key Stage 2 children at the festivals, and it will be composed by Sarah Dacey, whose work you heard at the start of the pitch. The performance includes a 20-minute performance, obviously, and workshops, a music video, and a unique idea, which is a festival walkabout, where the singers themselves will actually costume themselves as the Thames, a little bit like this, and they will be weaving around the festival itself. Now, this is an artwork in its own right, and it will be beautifully choreographed, but also it is a device to attract more people to come and see the performance, who might just be kind of passing around the festival and happen upon it. And so through these methods, we will reach an audience over summer of 41,000 people, which is more than the size of a Royal Opera House main stage show. And we will do this on a budget of £22,557, which is actually just 2% of the cost. I also just want to really briefly mention Unsung Heroes of the Planet, which is our second summer project. And it's along the same vein, so I won't spend too long on it. But it's a public engagement of science opera created with researchers from Cardiff University about the fact that trees can actually talk to each other. That's actually true. Through a network of fungus called mycelia. And we will be presenting this at Green Man Festival, again another music festival, throughout August. This uses a walkabout format as well to engage people. And we will be presenting the opera alongside workshops with the general public. And really the strategic focus of this project is just to test audience engagement further. And we will be reaching 16,000 people across 3 days. So we're into our second phase of projects now. And the last project I want to talk about in depth today is a devised opera with teens on culture and identity. It's a collaboration with another opera company called Opera Schmopera, and their composer, facilitator, and artistic director, who you can see up here, Omar Sharian. It will run from September 2017 to March 2018. And the project focuses on the increasing pressures which fall on teenagers, from hackers to terrorists, from parents to peers, and from our bullies to our inner demons. The opera aims to illuminate our power to transform despair into hope that each of us can bring out in our daily lives. We're working in partnership with North Huddersfield Trust School in a multicultural landscape, particularly to target teens who might not face positive representations of their race in the media, enabling them to counterbalance the public's perception by telling their own story. There will also be an online call for teenagers to submit anonymous responses, stories, and letters on the theme of the material we create for the opera. Some of these submissions will feed into the creative process, and they could be featured in the performance as well. The project will give a qualitative and in-depth performance experience to 60 young people on a budget of £19,752. The project will be received by 1,000 members of the general public in Huddersfield, and also we are aiming to reach 5,000 people through the video. Our goal over summer is to pioneer this participatory festival work, which is geared towards developing larger audiences, and then autumn, so this is our second phase of projects in autumn, turn our hand to concentrate on developing more socially driven work. And then, so outlined in my business plan, as some of you will read, the next 2 years after this will focus on integrating these two ways of working further. And in 5 years, we aim to have found a set of successful models for creating public-facing projects which protect participants whilst also maximising their capacity for social change. In 10 years' time, we aim to have started to change the way that opera is perceived by the general public, with more people recognising its social value and contemporary relevance. Gestalt is a community interest company, and so far our income streams have included a mix of philanthropic donation and earned income. We have received grants from trusts and foundations, including Arts Council England, the British Ecology Society and King's College Cambridge. We've also received match funding from festival and museum partners, and we've received in-kind support from festival and museum partners as well. We've also received private sponsorship. We've also, we have a selection of our income has been through earned income. I said that in a really weird way, apologies. So that has been through ticket sales and donations, earned income for running opera workshops and around museum collections. So our clients have included the Royal Dahl Museum and Gainsborough's House. And in the next 3 years, we aim to increase this to include a portfolio of sponsors from corporations. And so the money from this pitch would be used to pay for the librettist and director to complete a vital set of first workshops for the Teenage Identity Project. And I really want to thank you, everyone, for listening to me today. And I just want to say that the other thing that we are seeking, not just from the panel, but from anyone in the room, is support and guidance on strategic planning and how to maximise our earned income. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very ambitious again. I think you're set up as a charity.
It's a CIC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many performances will you hope to be doing, say, in 10 years' time, and will you be doing it full-time, regularly?
Yeah, so basically my situation now is that I work across 3 platforms, and I work across doing my own work, and I also work freelance for other companies. And gradually I want to personally reduce the amount of freelance work that I do for other companies and grow the amount of work that I do for this company. So I couldn't give you a definite answer. I don't want to be a kind of house that has a season. I want to do very, very interesting projects with high kind of public engagement, and I would probably aim to be doing at least 3 or 4 a year. It's about the impact rather than continually just kind of doing a season, because that's what people do.
That's what generates the income.
Yeah, but so I think that, I would like to be in a position in 10 years' time where I'm a national portfolio organisation, so that I am funded by Arts Council England on a regular basis that can cover our core costs, and that we have basically demonstrated that we can draw other sources from the partners that I mentioned. And we actually aren't charging for our projects this summer. We've managed to create them purely through donations, which I feel is important, especially considering that I want people to be able to walk in to a performance, not know it's there, meet it at a festival and enjoy it. And I think that's a really important aspect of breaking down those barriers. But I know this is going to be really problematic, but what I do want to do is maximise our earned income from other areas, which is the workshop leading and the stuff that we do for museums, and that's what I would actually quite like some help on in terms of making a strategy.
Brilliant. Good luck.
Can I ask, so when you start a project, you turn up with a libretto written and a score basically written.
Not quite.
What stage is it at when you started?
So when I start a project, I just start it by talking to different people and thinking, and I might have some ideas in the bank, and then I basically go and talk to some museums and I think, oh, that idea would fit here and it would work well with this community. What I do, for example, what I'm doing with Liquid History is that I have got a framework of how I want it to work, and then we're developing it with the children and families in Southend, and I've got specific areas that I want to explore with them. I want to get their humanity, get their experiences, and then I write that into the libretto, and they can come and see it performed back to them.
So they have a sort of slightly indirect input into the libretto, in a way?
Yeah, they have a direct input into the libretto. I will
right.
take literal phrases from them. I will take
Right.
words from them. And this project, so they've all got different levels of public engagement. Some are slightly more composed and slightly more prescribed than me and the composer than others. And this one will be very, very facilitated. So that will be pretty much purely from the young people and whatever they want to do.
Who performs it then? Is it the children? In the
So
case
for
of a
Liquid History and for Unsung Heroes of the Planet, that is the opera singers performing it. For this project, it will be the children performing it themselves.
Right, okay.
And how many people are working with you on this? Because if you're getting these grants in and things like that, that takes quite a bit of time.
Yes,
Imagine you're not doing it.
Yeah, well, I'm doing a lot of it. I think that I need to also be able to cut down the amount that I'm doing it so I can focus on the creative stuff, and that's also part of my 3-year plan. But currently I have a fundraising manager he also works for the National Youth Orchestra of Scotland, and I have a marketing manager who works with me. At the minute, we are not paying ourselves for that work that we do in between each project, so if we don't get a grant, we don't get paid. But I want to be able to pay myself for core costs within my 5-year plan.
Thank you. And have you got a friends scheme or things like that where you're trying to get...
I haven't got a friends scheme yet. I think that will be something that we develop over the next 2 years. At the minute, because I've been quite successful recently in getting money from grants for the arts and from trusts and foundations, that's our 1-year plan. And then our 2-year and 3-year plan is to extend that quite far outwards. But since we have got fruitful collaborations at the minute, we're kind of using that, and then we'll expand outwards.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Fantastic work. I wondered exactly how connected to opera specifically your vision is, in the sense that what you've showed us has elements of dramatic arts, other ways it could go, and just to understand your thinking about that and what opera means in the context of what you do.
Okay, so to me, I mean, my projects have got opera singers in, okay, so that's what you could class it as opera. And then my community projects, the ones where we create work with children themselves, they will have children in. I mean, that's actually, in the main opera houses, that's still the way it works. So the community projects that have participants in and children in, they won't be singing as opera singers, they'll obviously just be singing with their own voices. I want to use opera voices, but also I do use a mix of physical theatre, of carnival, and what I'm kind of doing is taking the essence of main stage opera, which is to see massive visual spectacles on stage, see these really beautiful, really dramatic spectacles. I'm taking that section out of it and kind of uprooting it and then putting that into a festival or another kind of format like that. Because some of the things you see on the Opera House stage, like I've seen things like, you know, big waves coming across where people are moving with their bodies and they've got dancers. There's no reason you can't just take that segment out and put it into a festival. And actually, I think that the big opera houses are missing a trick, because normally their public engagement models are to present a tenor singing, you know, a very high note in a traditional way. And people know that's opera. People aren't surprised, you know. People just think, oh, that's what opera is, I know what it is. But they don't know about this really amazing stuff that happens, you know, in the house that you don't get to see unless you're there. And that's what I want to take out and bring to people, basically. And that's my definition of opera. So it's a bit mixed media opera, but it is still opera. And actually, there are a few other fringe companies working in this way that's slightly more interdisciplinary, and some main stage productions as well.
Sounds like a revolution.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool, thank you.